What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. This is the podcast where we dive into the deepest, darkest, murkiest waters with a plethora of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the number one scumbag, Rex Ruger. That's Rex with 3 X's. Don't fuck that up. That's important. But you're looking at me and you're saying, that's not it, Rex. What else do I know you as? You might also know me as the King of Sleaze, a.k.a. the hair metal high priest, and most importantly, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Look at the smoldering look. Look at those eyes and that chest. Is there any doubt that I am not the son of glam, the front man for the band, just smoked several grams, got a million fans? I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop, Babaloo, Boppa Wop, Bam, Bam, Shazam, hot damn. You're looking at my hair and you're wondering, how do I do? That's how. And you can too. Let's play a little quick game of find Rex's bad side. Impossible, as usual. Coming to you as always from the lush, lavish, lavender lounge of love. And joined as always by my friend, my confidant, my consigliere, my drug deep, Keith Hernandez puppet, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, Keith. And by the way, I mean, you got a little bit of cocaine on your mustache, okay? So this is, of course, the No Frills podcast. You get no frills because you get plenty of thrills, and that's looking at me. Plus, I'm almost 50. I don't know what I'm doing with technology. I get in here, and we get down to brass tacks, interviewing fucking legends on Pod Scum. So get the fucking horns up, because I'm trying to get us another one in here tonight. I think I got myself so excited I might have knocked my hair out of whack. Nope. Should be getting someone good in here right about now. And yes, we are. Hot Scum time.
Jesus.
Good evening, sir.
Not a pin.
Boy, that wasn't too difficult, was it?
Oh, no. Don't you just love technology?
I thought it was supposed to be making everything easier for us, my friend. What the hell is this all about, you know?
It's the same shit, whether it's Skype or Zoom. It's all garbage.
This is, of course, John Gallagher, vocalist, bassist, English gentleman, musician, pioneer, new wave of British heavy metal, a fucking legend, because that's all I deal with, John. That's all I deal with, legends.
That's right.
And you are another one, sir. When you look back at your career, do you put yourself in that category, or do you have to stay kind of humble about it?
No, I think legend at this point is just another word for old. So we already know that, so we'll move on from there.
Well, listen, first of all, you know, congratulations. You're coming up in a couple years on 50 years, which is, I mean, remarkable. I mean, absolutely incredible career. Well, you know, when you started this thing way back when, I hate to ask the influence question, but what was the first stuff that really knocked your socks off musically?
Really, it would have been the glam bands like Slade and Sweet. Yeah. And then the other bands would see on TV in England, like Status Quo, were a huge band for us. Yeah. And then the first show we ever went to was Slade, and the opening band was the sensational Alex Harvey band. Yeah, yeah. So we were ruined from there in with those two. That was the end. And from then we'd basically go and see every band that came into town. I think the next show was Budgie, and then Status Quo, and then Rory Gallagher, and we were off, you know.
So the thing that I find the most fascinating, though, and you know, talk to me a little bit about what it's like to be, you know, working so closely with a sibling for so many years. You know, have you guys always had a good, amicable relationship, you know, throughout all these years of working together and being brothers?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, we really have. I think the only time where we fought and argued and were a pain in the ass with each other was before we started the band.
Yeah. But smooth sailing ever since, right? The music makes everything sail smoothly, I think.
It does. You know, it's we're different people, but we certainly have a common goal and a common passion about this band and music in general, you know.
Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on what Metallica have gone on to become. You, of course, their first, national tour in 1983. They, famously opened up for you guys. So, you could kind of say that you helped launch the career of Metallica. But, everything that they've done in their career, pretty awesome, right?
Oh, they're a phenomenon, absolutely. And, the question's been asked many times, when those guys opened for you, did you think they'd, turn out to be what they were?
Right.
And the answer is absolutely not.
No.
But to a small degree, them being on that tour, and, nicely enough, we actually kind of interviewed James about 2 months ago. We sat down at Metallica HQ, me and Mark, and we videoed the whole thing for a future project. And he said every night they would sit and watch and go, how do we get from here to there?
That's high praise.
They sucked it in, and no, he was very, very humble and praised us to the moon and back. And we were obviously one of the bands that they watched and kind of learned, and took what they wanted and moved on. And you could tell there was a huge difference between the first and second albums.
Absolutely. Yeah, a massive difference. Now, do you think, though, when you look back on your career, are you comfortable with the accolades and the labels that you get as being right there at the forefront, possibly one of the early originators, of what we come to know as thrash metal?
I guess so. I mean, the one thing is that there was, by the time the new wave of British heavy metal started getting into like its second and third year, there was a lot of bands that kind of sounded similar. But the originators of that, none of those bands sounded the same at all. All they had was a passion for music and a lot of energy. And maybe more than some, we really pushed that energy quotient and, to an extent, revving up the speeds a little bit,
Sure. Well, you guys are notoriously known for very high energy, live performances. What's it like, though, when you're touring? I got a birthday coming up in January. I'll be 50 years old. Obviously things get a little tougher. Things don't work quite as good as they did when we were, at 25. How is it now touring when you get out on the road and putting on those high energy shows? And what do you do to prepare for those?
The funny thing is, you really can't. I mean, you try to stay fit, and whatever you do, it doesn't equate into playing the show. It's a strange animal. The best way to prepare for the show is to play lots of shows.
Yeah.
So
baptism by fire.
If you haven't played in a few months, that first show is always brutal.
Yeah.
And you'll come off smelling like ammonia. Every poison in your body will come out. And then you just push on second and third shows, and then you're good. You're good from there on it. We just did 43 shows, and we started on September 22nd, and we finished on November 7th. We had 3 days off, and two of those were travel days.
Yeah.
So we had one actual day off in all of that. So we're pushing harder now than we ever have. I mean, partially was because when we booked this tour, we had no idea what the gas prices were going to be. So logistically, it was just like, book shows till the end of time and we'll make it happen.
Yes.
And, luckily things came down a little bit, which helped enormously. But, it's logistically, it was the only way to make it happen. But we like that. We hate days off. We like the building.
You like that
routine.
pace. Yeah, you're comfortable with keeping this. So what you're saying is, when we get to the very end of what we're going to know is time, Raven will have a gig. You'll be playing till the end of time, literally.
I believe so. That
might be what it comes down to.
Our first album title was kind of prophetic, I think.
When you are out there now, on the road, do you have a lot of confidence in where rock and roll is headed in the future? Are you seeing young bands out there that still get you excited, or is it tough to really kind of wow you? That, you know, you've probably seen it all over the course of time.
Occasionally, you see good bands. There's good bands out there. There's just a lot of noise, and there's a lot of dross, and there's a lot of imitators. We saw a great band in Fresno, Haunt. The guitar player and singer is Trevor Church, who's the son of Bill Church, who was in Montrose.
Okay.
And they were very cool. They were a good band. There's our friends Night Demon out there doing their kind of take on the, you know, new wave of British heavy metal. There's bands out there here and there doing, you know, the kind of thing that gets me excited.
Yeah.
But, you know, there again, there's a lot of bands that are out there playing, you know, tuned down to Z, Cookie Monster, no melody, no nothing. And that drives me mental at this point. It's like, you know, next.
So I've asked guys on here. I'm glad that you brought that up. I've asked other guys on here that I've interviewed. So you're of the opinion that music can get so heavy and so extreme that it almost becomes not enjoyable.
Well, I don't call that heavy. I mean, some of those bands have some really heavy riffs, but to me, it's a balancing act. I mean, our particular sound, our band, there's a balancing act between order and chaos, between noise and melody, between structure and lunacy. And when it's like baking a cake, you know, if you put too much flour in, it's going to come out dry and horrible.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's other bands, and I think, you know, some of them just have too much flour.
Yeah. Well put, my friend.
But you know, it's all personal taste. But there obviously was, you know, we took, you know, we're all standing on the shoulders of giants. We took from the great bands that we grew up with and kind of distilled it down, revved it up, made it a little more powerful, what have you. And then people try to do that with what we did, and then people have done that with, you know, those bands.
Yeah.
But there's a point where you strip away too much, and you don't have real guitar riffs anymore.
Yeah. There's a difference between there's a difference between a cacophony of noise and music.
You know, when it starts sounding like a drum machine playing in a metal shop, you know, it gets a bit annoying. You know.
Yeah. I'm curious on like what, you know, obviously, you know, having been around for the amount of years that you have, obviously so many changes in the actual business side of music and how music is released and what formats it comes out in. Do you like all the changes that have happened? Or are you one of those throwback guys who liked when we were getting a physical product and album sales were way up and music wasn't so digitized?
Well, I do hate the digitization of music, and luckily our fans and, you know, basically our genre, they want, you know, the fans want a physical product.
Yeah.
They want to know who the engineer was. They want to know where it was recorded, who played what. They want to read the lyrics. They want to look at the artwork.
Yeah.
You know, the throwback experience of sitting down and listening to an album all the way through, following that journey. I mean, we take a lot of time and pride in sequencing our records, so it takes you on that journey. It's not just, you know, put the 4 or 5 coolest tracks at the beginning and put a bunch of filler on afterwards. We don't go for that.
I love that.
We really don't go for that. We spend a lot of time, blood and sweat, putting it out and saying, okay, here's something we're proud of. I hope you like it. And,
I love
it. Go from there, you know.
Now, do you think, you know, after, what do you guys get, 14 studio albums out now? 14?
Yep, 14 with the 15th on the way. Yep.
It's an amazing legacy of work, and you know, not that maybe guys in your position give a fuck, but you know, just as a just a general comment, what's your opinion on, you know, extreme metal bands getting into places like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Is extreme metal not represented enough in places like that and kind of dismissed?
I don't think extreme metal has a hope in hell of being in the actual Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when there's literally, 2 or 3 metal bands have been in, and that only came from kicking and screaming. When you've got a band as talented and with such a resume as Rush, and it took badgering by their audience for years.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Pretty
That
sad.
that thing's a joke. It's an absolute joke. It's just the plaything of that strange character who runs Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, we are getting inducted into the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame in
Well,
January.
congratulations. Congratulations. Now that sounds like a real Hall of Fame. That's a Hall of Fame that as a band I would want to be in. And there's no fluff, right? We're not letting fringe guys, right?
No, it's like everyone that's in it is deserves to be there. They're heavy, they're musical, they've got a track record, they've done it, you know.
2022. In 2022, you guys are gonna, or you guys put out "Leave 'Em Bleeding." Now, a lot of the stuff that I read obviously said that it was kind of like a retrospective. What was the impetus behind that project? Did just you wanted to revisit some of those songs?
Yeah, I mean, we had one record left on our contracts, and we wanted to move on. We've got a new deal now with Silver Lining in the UK, who are great. But you know, not to cast any aspersions on our previous label, who did a great job for us as best they could. And we just thought it was a good parting gift. We have a compilation of cool stuff off the last 3 albums and all the extra tracks and B-sides, and you know, the extra track that went on the Outer Mongolian version or the Venusian version and all that kind of stuff. Put them all in one place.
Yeah, so, put them all in one place and let the diehards, you know, really have an easy time finding them.
Yeah, and we were looking around for we found a great live version of Stay Hard that was done when first tour we did with Mike back in 2017. It was recorded in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it's cool. It's a great version of the song that we hadn't played in forever. And it was just one of those things, I guess we were playing it in the jam in the middle of Break the Chain, as we just go off and do something. It was, but let's do the song. Why not? Let's do the song. And it's great. So good to have.
When you guys get together and you are going to get into the studio, like what is the Raven recording process, creative process like? Does somebody come in there with ideas? Is it more of a collaborative effort? Do you guys just get in there and jam? How do you guys get in there and work? What do you guys do?
Well, we've I mean, the new album is done. Boom. It's done, it's ready to go, but we'll get into that in a second. As far as the process, I mean, we'll write, Mark will come up with ideas, I'll come up with ideas. Mark's one of those guys where he'll just sit him down and put a tape recorder in front of him and boom, lightning comes into a bottle.
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah, you know? That's a beautiful thing.
I'm a little bit more methodical, but I've been very lucky, touch wood. I've been on a real great writing streak for almost 10 years at this point. So I'll have a lot of stuff. And we also did a thing after in 2000, where was it, 19, early on, we went to Japan and we went to China, but don't blame us, it wasn't our fault. We came back, went to Los Angeles to Mike's place, where he's got a studio at his house. And we spent like 2 weeks in there writing and having a laugh, doing the craziest cover versions you've ever heard, which hopefully that's another project we have to finish.
Yeah, hell yeah.
We came up with like maybe 7 or 8 really cool songs and then continued writing. Then it got to the point like, okay, what do we got? And we had this cachet of like 35 songs.
Wow.
And it was not a question of picking the best per se. It was a question of, well, this one's fully formed, or this one only needs a little bit of work. You know, there'd be 1 or 2 where it's like 2 guys who go, well, I don't really like that one. It's like, well, what if we change this, and this? And it's like, oh, this song's great. Like, duh. So that kind of thing happens. You know, we chew each other's heads off and we fight for our ideas and everyone chips stuff in. So,
yeah,
you know, if you know you've got something, but the core of this is a great song, and maybe somebody doesn't get it, you change one thing and they're like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. So those things can happen. Sometimes it's the smallest little part that just flips everything on its head. So we worked on as many songs as possible, and then from there was like, okay, what would be a great opener? What would
Right.
follow up? And kind of sequence it from the songs we have. And we actually went in and recorded 18 songs.
Yeah.
Which is double album territory. 2 of them were cover tunes, which they were requested by the new label for a couple of compilations, so they don't really count. But we did looking to do a 10-song album, a couple of extra tracks for, you know, like Japan or Outer Mongolia, like we said.
Yeah. Yep.
And then we've got a few songs left over that we'll look at. They're really cool, but for one reason or another, it was like, you know, we just had too many songs, and we don't want to have an album that's like, you know, 90 minutes long. It's
Right.
gets boring. You want to hit them hard, hit them fast, and after
that
30, 35, 40 minutes, you want to hear it again.
Yeah.
That's the kind of album.
Right out of the gate, bludgeoning us.
It's what we did with Metal City. It worked perfect. It's like, you know, let's follow that template. Let's do that. So the other songs, you know, possibly an EP down the line. Who knows?
Yeah. So what was it like for you creatively going through the lockdown and the COVID stuff? Did you find yourself being more creative, doing more writing?
Yeah, I really pushed on that. Wrote an awful lot of songs. Did a stretch where I actually did these bass videos on Facebook. I called them my noodles, bass noodles, and I put up one every day for a year. And it would be either me just going crazy with, you know, wild distortion and feedback, or playing a show tune, or playing a folk song, or playing one of our songs, or playing some kind of, you know, strange, weird sound. And like, I'll pick up a glass coaster that my girlfriend had, and I was using it as a bow. With loads of echo and distortion, and just creating, you know, ambient craziness.
Yeah.
And it was a challenge, and it was a lot of fun. And I learned a lot of stuff. That was like, okay, we're going to play the Rain song by Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Which is, for the uninitiated, it's an open tuning in guitar. This is played on a straight bass, and I was like, could I pull that off? And
of course you could.
I was able to do like near 80% of the song, so not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. Yeah, you still got it. Come on, I mean,
well, yeah, and things like, you know, "Love of My Life" by Queen. Could you play that on the bass? It's like, yeah, I think I can.
Yeah.
Tori Amos stuff, piano stuff. Could I play that on the bass? Let's see. And I pulled it off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I challenged myself, and it was good. I learned a lot of things.
Are you the type of guy who, like, when you're not playing the type of music that Raven is known for, and you've got time yourself to be a fan and listen to music, you know, do you go away from the metal genre and tend to listen to stuff that's not metal just to get away from it?
Yeah, I do, because there's and I've done that for years. I mean, it's only now that I'll listen back to some of the new wave of British heavy metal stuff.
Yeah.
Because it was like, it was too close to, in a sense, to what we were doing. I didn't want to be overly influenced. You know, I mean, there's another school of thought that says, you know, listen to all that stuff to make sure you're not copying them. We knew we were original enough to come up with our own stuff that's not going to touch on that. I just didn't want it poisoned by, excuse me, my headphones are falling out here.
It's all right.
But poisoned by hearing and overly influenced by anyone else, you know, because there was some great music out there, absolutely. But after, you know, once it got to like 81, it was just like, I'm not listening. I'm totally focused on what I'm doing. So I'd listen to other things, because that helped me bring other influences into what we were doing. So I listened to Yes and Genesis and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Pink Floyd and the Mahavishnu Orchestra, and
a lot of progressive stuff.
Yeah, a lot of the fusion stuff. Yeah, we definitely got a lot of ideas and pointers from that. And, you know, singer-songwriter stuff. Yeah, I'd listen to Joni Mitchell, Kate Bush, even these days, Sarah McLachlan, Tori Amos,
Beautiful voices.
Fiona Apple.
Yeah.
You know, a whole bunch of women singer-songwriters there, but I mean, they're all unique in their own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over the years, going to see a lot of live music. Do you remember a band particularly that really blew you away in all the concerts that you've seen over the course of your life?
Oh, jeez. Well, obviously that first show with Alex Harvey and Slade, that was mind-blowing.
Yeah,
totally.
changed you.
Alex Harvey was the consummate professional.
Yeah.
He's on stage. There's a bunch of, you know, basically 14 to 18-year-olds, complete teeny boppers, Slade fans. Didn't know who they were. Nobody cared. He won that audience over. It was like a master class.
Yeah.
It was just genius, and that really stuck with us, you know. And you'd go to see these shows, and that was our school.
Yeah.
You know, how's this band coming across great to the audience? What are they doing that's right, or the opposite? Why do they suck?
Yeah.
Why did the vibe go really bad when that guy got upset that his guitar went off and he stormed off in a huff?
Yeah.
These are the things you don't want to do, you know. So all that stuff went in, but shows I've seen. I mean, I camped out in the snow all night to get tickets to see Richie Blackmore's Rainbow.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
Worth it.
Oh God. Forget it. Ronnie Dio, Richie, I mean, Cozy Powell, forget about it. Forget about it. Just awesome.
Blew you away.
Shows like that. Status Quo, first time we saw Status Quo. I mean, you got 2,000 kids jumping up and down playing air guitar from start to finish, headbanging, absolute heaven. Just.
I'm sure you probably had those moments before when you've had a concert, though. Let me ask how you handle this. And correct me if I'm wrong if you haven't experienced this, but somewhere along the lines, even when when you're first earning your stripes as a band, how do you handle it when you come out to a club date and how do you get yourself inspired when there's maybe 8-10 people to play for?
It
What's the mindset there?
It happens. You're a professional. Those people pay to see a show. You put a show on. We put the same show on, whether it's 8 people or 80,000. And
are you able to get inspired to do it, or is it kind of a letdown?
Well, of course, nobody wants to come to play the hall that's half empty or what have you. And due to the way the business is these days, that can happen. Promoters often don't promote.
Yeah.
So, or you'll play a town like Memphis, Tennessee, which, if they ever need to test another bomb, that could be the place to put it.
Look out, Memphis.
I don't want to offend my Memphis fans. But there's, we've done it over the years. If that happens, so be it. You go out, you're getting paid. The people paid to see the show. You put the show on, and you put a great show on, and they tell their friends, "Oh, you missed out." And the next time you come by, there's a lot more people there, and that's how you build a following. This has happened to every band on the planet. Famously, the Police, on their first tour of the United States, often played to 3 and 4 people.
Yeah.
And then, we're going to introduce the audience to the band. It's not introduce the band to the audience.
Here, come and meet the 3 people in the front row.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the only ones that fucking showed up. So when you look back on what has become a very impressive career and legacy, what would you want Raven to most be remembered for? Obviously, for me, and I'll tell you before you answer, it's the consistency in the work. You know what I mean? I love knowing that you're going to throw little curves and little nuances. But all in all, I'm going to know that I'm listening to a Raven album. You've never lost your identity at all. And that's my answer. You can go ahead with what you think your legacy is.
No, I like what you said there. I mean, that's always been our game plan, is to write songs, real songs with, a start, a verse, choruses, a middle eight, a real structure, but throw those curveballs in.
Yeah.
That's what makes... because if you do all curveballs, then it's jazz fusion.
Yeah.
And there's no point of reference for the general listener. Then it's musicians' music, which is all well and good.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you want to be able to stamp your foot and bang your head.
Absolutely.
So you got to have those points of reference, and then you can go off. You can take chances and go off from that. But as far as being remembered, it's good songwriters and a band that really kicked ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's our thing. 110% every night, play to the death. And we've always done that. And we still do that. And we always will.
Is it flattering, obviously, when you hear all these younger thrash bands that came after you, always mentioning you as an influence, got to be, at least personally and creatively very rewarding that you've influenced, so many bands, and, they'll publicly acknowledge it.
Yeah. I mean, there was a long time where that would never happen.
Yeah.
It's really only started happening over the last 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
And we'll do that now. We'll play festivals, and people will be like, with jaws dropped, going,
yeah,
we're 30.
Yeah.
We couldn't do that. I don't know
Yeah.
how you guys do that. We couldn't do that. It's not physically possible. It's just like, well, this is what we do.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
We played, famously in '83, we played a little festival in Germany. It was like our second ever German gig. And after the sound check, I went out into the parking lot because there was a lot of kids there. And I brought my old Red Explorer bass and sat down, started talking to people. And in that crowd were the guys who formed Creator, Sodom, Coroner, what's her name? Doro Pesh.
Doro, yeah.
It was like 6 or 7 bands. And they were either just forming or they decided to form a band from that concert. And over the years, each one of them have come up and said, thank you.
Yeah.
You really inspired us. And that's really
nice.
Amazing. That's really amazing.
Very rewarding. And certainly people who will know that the bands you named have gone on to, even not from a commercial standpoint, but, in the pantheon of great thrash bands, those bands that you just mentioned all fit the bill, all became legendary, phenomenal, game-changing thrash metal bands, Creator, Coroner, all those bands that you talked about.
Yep. It's all our fault.
Legendary. Yeah. You spawned all this chaos. John, see what you bestowed upon us. You're putting yourself out there as a fine English gentleman, and you're corrupting us all.
Corrupting you all one piece.
Yeah. But listen, we love the corruption, and we want more. Is that the game plan? In closing, is there a time when you would say enough's enough, or are you one of these rockers who's going to go out on your shield to the bitter end?
I think it's a case of like, if you can still do it at the same level or continue to get better, and if you're still enjoying it, my brother's had terrible health problems over the years, but he's such a trooper, and he fights all the time. He did the last tour there, basically bone on bone ankle, which wasn't a lot of fun for him, but the adrenaline gets you through it, So we're going to have to take a little bit of time, I think, during the next year for him to have an operation on that, and then we'll push forward from there.
Well, but and certainly big kudos to Mark. He also famously came out and did some shows, back around 2004 after his unfortunate accident, and played in a fucking wheelchair, for God's sakes.
He did indeed, and had just had operations and had all that anesthesia on his stomach, was throwing up left, right, and center. It was interesting. It was like, but they told him he would never use his legs again, and he proved them wrong. God
bless him. Yeah.
He had a lot of people stubbornest man on the planet.
Yeah, he is. He is a legend in his own right, and certainly, astonishing what you guys have been able to do together. And, you don't always see the sibling dynamic work. I mean, it can fracture bands, as well as be successful. I mean, it did a lot of damage to a lot of bands and didn't work out quite so well.
Yeah, I mean, famously the Kinks.
Yeah. The Fogartys didn't get along very good.
Yeah, and then our namesakes, the Gallagher brothers from Oasis there.
Yeah.
Annoying little twats, but there you go.
I've heard that for sure. On more than one occasion.
I think the funniest one, I read some parts of a book about the Black Crowes guys, the Robinsons.
Yeah.
And my God.
Yeah. It's like they're very high maintenance to deal with as well.
Definitely high maintenance is the word, I think.
Well, obviously, I'm cut from the cloth of legend, as you can see right here by the smoldering look. I mean, father and son ruling the universe right here. I mean, you can see it, can't you, John?
Diamond Dave. I saw Van Halen in 79 and 80, and they were absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, that was the time to catch him back then. Definitely the time to catch him.
You've
seen it all, brother. You've seen and done it all, man. And, I appreciate you just coming and just chopping it up on here with me for a little while. It's been a real honor talking to you and just, listening to your stories, and a real pleasure. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome, man. You are welcome. And
Thank you so
much.
Out
next year. We've got,
please.
We're going to be doing All for One, 40th anniversary. We'll have the new album later on in the year and all kinds of goodies. So,
best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
That was from my father many years ago, and I never really understood it until a lot later. It was one word: think.
Beautiful. Now that's a way to end an interview right there. I like to get a little snippet of some good advice from every guest. That's a good one right there, my friend. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, buddy. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it. We'll keep in touch, and hopefully we'll do this again sometime. All right, later, brother.
Absolutely. You got it.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
It's been an honor. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Cheers. There he goes right there, folks. That's a legend right there. That's a legend. That's the face of a legend right there. And we salute him for coming on, man. That is John Gallagher, vocalist, bassist, rock and roll pioneer. Kick-ass motherfucker right there. That's John Gallagher of the legendary band Raven. Been doing it since 1974. Talk about some longevity. Like I said, coming up on 50 years. That's an OG right there. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode of SCUM. And remember, until next time, take it easy and keep it sleazy.